Hi there, it's Skyward Shield. Welcome to a new Football Talks. Week 11's in the books. We are in the Thanksgiving special, Week 12. I'm joined by Bill as always. Say hello, Bill.
Hey, hey!
Yeah, we have some Thanksgiving to get into real soon. This podcast will be up earlier than usual, obviously. But before we can go to look forward to Thanksgiving, we gotta look back to week 11. There were some surprises to be had, some real fun games, and some really disappointing situations. Also, a
Yeah,
lot of teams ready to hit the big red panic button, but let's start in Houston, a team that's already dead in the water, but was a special night or a special day. Andre Johnson Day, the first Texan in the Ring of Honor, and I will tell you, Bill, actually, after this game was over, I was looking at Andre Johnson highlights, and I looked at the last game. This is very ironic, considering he was with Case Keenum on that game against the Jags, the one that went a little back and forth. And Case Keenum was slinging the ball to Andre Johnson like it was his last game because Andre Johnson, I made me remember, it's like, man, this guy should have stayed with us. If he stayed with us, who knows? Might have been a bit of a better team. If he just did what Larry Fitzgerald did, bite the bullet, accept the lesser role, but you're still going to be fed the ball because you're not playing at the number one receiver position, you might have still been as thriving. But anyway, to I was very happy to see him on there. I thought they were going to retire his jersey number. I think they will do that one day, just not now. Probably if he gets into Canton, which if he doesn't get into Canton, I call foul because I feel like he's such a good player. Him and Terrell Owens, I still don't understand why T.O. is not in the Hall of Fame.
T.O.'s not in the Hall of Fame because of the antics. Really, that's the reason why.
Yeah, the worst thing that Andre Johnson did was beat the shit out of a cornerback who was like pretty much shoving him around even when the play was over. So, and plus he kicked his ass. I'm not even mad. That Flanagan guy, get wrecked, Sonny boy. But
Oh, man.
that was a good time. That's good times. Although my favorite play is, the big touchdown to win the game in overtime. I think it was against the Jaguars. 37-30, I think, was the final score. It looked like the game was going to be a tie too. But either
Right.
way, that was a great time. But now let's focus on this game. This one was actually a little back and forth. The first quarter was dead. Nothing was really interesting going on, but the second quarter, Texans get a good touchdown. Same thing with the Cardinals. I think they actually got like a pick six, an incredible pick six by Peterson,
Yeah.
Patrick Peterson. It was off a deflected ball, deflected by a Texan no less. He couldn't catch the ball, but it was going into the half. The Cardinals had the lead, but it was the second half that got a little more interesting. Hopkins got a really good throw from Savage, and here's the one thing to note: Savage was not playing horrible this time.
Yeah.
Hard to believe, but he was playing well. The run game was okay until Foreman started getting his hand on the ball. And that's because he fumbled it once, but it was picked up by the Texans. I thought,
Right.
oh, he's done again. They're going to bench him again. But no, they saved him until the third quarter, and he erupted. He got his first touchdown of his career on a first and goal from like the 2. Really good, but that wasn't the main play. The other one was it was bound to happen. The where he just breaks out of a hole and overpowers the secondary to reach for I think it was a 34-yard touchdown run. But
Some. Yeah.
this was the play. This perfectly encapsulated the Texans season. And I'm going to be saying that a lot about teams because there's a couple this perfectly encapsulated this team. For Houston, Deontay Foreman sparked hope for the future. Or hope for this season if you want to at least have a better record. That big run, and yet he got his Achilles torn on that touchdown run. He couldn't even get up. They had to cart him off the field, and it didn't take that long to find out his Achilles was torn, and now he's out for the season. Like Richard Sherman, another Achilles tear, and oh man, Bill, to have that Deontay Foreman, I call it his breakout game of the season, why I thought he was he was picked at such a low spot. If you ask me, I thought he could be a first round running back, but apparently people didn't think so, and that's why we got him. But to have that just get taken away from us again shows you that all the problems Houston's having right now, injuries are riddling them way too hard.
Yep. It's the old adage, to make a championship in any sport, you have to be healthy. And the Texans, unfortunately, this year, the injury bug hit them really bad. And, you know, Deontay was a definite good piece. I saw the 34-yard touchdown run. That was a pretty beast run.
Speaking
It
of
just,
beast, he kind of looked like beast mode for a minute there with the way
yeah,
he ran.
yeah. Definitely. He definitely has a very similar running style. Overall though, just this year has been that year for the Texans. Like last year, for the Lions was a injury-riddled year. Just injuries everywhere on all sides of the ball. Just and it just took another player from the Texans that they could have really, really used because their offense was playing pretty well. Like you said, Tom Savage actually came in and played decent football. Decent football, and that's all you need out of Savage is decent football.
He may
You
be able
can
to
win
stay and be as
games.
the backup running or backup quarterback after this year. Maybe. I don't think he'll fit anywhere else really. Although I will say, a player that stepped up, which I was glad to see, one of my favorite receivers this year, Bruce Ellington, looked really good. He stepped up in the absence of Will Fuller, who is also out with another rib injury. I don't know if it's season ending. I'm pretty sure it will be because this season's already over and well, we're getting into the final stretch. I mean, if Thanksgiving week wasn't already indicative of that enough as is, we're starting to get into the home stretch. A lot of the teams are officially being declared. They're done for the year. They're not going anywhere. And well, the playoff picture is starting to slowly take shape. Houston and Arizona are both out for their playoff hopes. They're just playing to win a game. And well, I'm just glad Houston won at least on Andre Johnson night. To be honest, I don't know if they could steal another game apart from the 49ers game. That's perhaps the only one I can see them taking.
Right.
Maybe you can win this week at Monday Night Football against the Ravens, but the Ravens are so inconsistent. They could be as dominant as you saw this week, where they shut out the Packers at home, which that's got to be embarrassing for a Packers fan. Bill may as well mention that now, Bill, since I brought it up. Bill, share your thoughts on that loss for Green
That
Bay.
loss was the most embarrassing loss for the Packers in a very long time, and it does my heart very good because you know what? Packers fans haven't had this feeling too often in the last little while, and it's done my heart good to know that they're not going to be one of the representatives from the NFC North. You know, I'm sorry. I'm just glad that they're not going to make the playoffs at all. I'm done with that team making the playoffs. And I you know with Aaron Rodgers, they score a lot of points per game, and without Aaron Rodgers, they don't. And their team was exposed for what it is: a poor defensive team, a team that solely relies on its quarterback to do anything. And if that quarterback is gone, you see what's going on. They have no running back, and their quarterback can't throw the football to any of their wide receivers who can't get open.
Yep. Either way, I will like the last thing I want to mention on this game. Clowney played pretty good. The defense, the front line was not that bad. The secondary was actually playing not well against Larry Fitzgerald because Fitzgerald, when he decided to have his way with the team, he did, which again speaks to why. Which fun fact, he's signed for a contract for next year, so he might come back next year. But I'm
Oh,
not sure if I would want to go back to this team personally, unless Carson Palmer is still the same as he was this year, because Carson Palmer was not the reason the Cardinals were playing like crap this year, despite what people will say.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if the Patriots trade for Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah. Oh man, it would be really nice next year. Have him have another chance at a ring, but we'll see. Though to be honest, I expect the Cardinals, if they tank hard enough, they could possibly try and trade up a bit to get a quarterback that they want for the future. Get that
Yep.
sealed away now.
Yeah, they need a quarterback.
And give him at the very least, you could say you may have all of next year to groom him and train him up. Better to, as what that say, how's that saying go? Better to have it than not need, or something like that.
Yeah, basically.
I say get the quarterback out of the way now, because a lot of other teams are going to have a chance now. I mean, what with the Browns having a chance to basically end a quarterback's career, so one quarterback's done. You got what I think the Giants may take a shot at it. Buffalo's clearly going to do that, because remember, even if they have to trade up, guess what? They have the Chiefs pick to offer it instead as well.
Right.
So you
I
have
mean,
that.
it also brings up, well, if any team's gonna bite on Tyrod Taylor, all Tyrod Taylor has done is played well this year.
Yeah, and his team's not good. In fact, here's another option. I said this with Kirk Cousins, but something tells me they are going to finally lock up Kirk Cousins with Washington. Maybe he could go to Denver instead.
Possible.
I mean, it's a
Very
mobile
possible.
quarterback. That's what the Broncos are a run first team. That might not be a bad spot if you ask me. But
Very
anyway,
possible.
let's move on. Let's move on to the more interesting game. This one was, oh boy, Bill. I mean, I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you. I was very worried for this one, and to be honest, while the power rankings aren't done because we're recording this on a Monday evening, I'm not sure how to feel about the Lions, even though they scrape by with this win. I know that the Bears play hard against the Lions, but there were a lot of ways this game could not have been as close.
Right.
This game, if not for a botched kick by the Bears, we might have had an overtime game, and at that point I don't know how it goes. But
Uh,
what are you gonna say, Bill?
I'll just put it this way. Overall, the Lions played a tough. It's always what happens in division games. You know, every time you play a division game, you get into those close games, and that was a close game with a division opponent. Both teams know each other quite well. And the issue, it reminds me of the Seahawks Rams games from a few years ago when the Seahawks were going to the Super Bowl and the Rams were, a mediocre team. The Rams always played the Seahawks amazingly well. I'll I'll put it this way: the Lions came out and played really poorly on defense in the first quarter. They played poorly on defense. And Matthew Stafford, like normal, when the defense is not doing well, he picks up the team and carries them on his back, and he got enough points to win the game. The
The second quarter was where the offense played well, but halftime happened, and well, the Bears made good adjustments, you could say, as best as they
right,
could. But although, Bill, you have to give credit to the Lions defense for a sense, because they picked up a botched snap and took that to the house, which is
yep,
another defensive touchdown by the Lions. I think they've already passed their record for franchise history, and well, as you can see, we are starting to get to the final stretch of the season. But that still means there's a lot of football to be played.
oh yeah, I mean, we're this is the last game of the third quarter of the season. The Lions won the first quarter, they lost the second quarter. They could win the third quarter
Well, they
of
just need to
this
win this
season.
Thanksgiving game, because well,
Yep.
we have to be hyping it up, because out of all the Thanksgiving games, this is the only one that has importance now.
It's the best Thanksgiving game on Thanksgiving is the Lions Vikings. But here's the biggest issue. It was in the fourth quarter. Uh, the the Chicago Bears should have never been in the position to kick the field goal for two different reasons. Two different reasons. On a 1st and 10 play, or yeah, it was 1st and 10, something like that. Mitch Trubisky threw a pass into Darius Slay's hands, legitimately in his hands, and big play Slay, who normally gets a lot of interceptions, dropped a surefire interception. And that was in that final drive. The the other issue is the Detroit Lions held the Chicago Bears pretty nicely to get them to a 4th and 13.
Oh,
A
yep, this is the play.
4th and 13. A 4th and 13. Now you know one of two things is going to happen. They're going to throw a long range pass, or they're going to have to run for it somehow. And what does Mitchell Trubisky do? The Lions defense does not, one, tackle anybody. They watch Trubisky get 15 yards and a first down when all you have to do is rally up and get a slow-moving quarterback on the ground. That's all you have to do. That's all you have to do. So overall, I feel like the defense is starting to get there. There's a noticeable absence without Ezekiel Ansah, but the defense is getting there. It's getting there. It's
Also,
getting back to where it was.
why did they put Zettel into coverage for that one play that led to a touchdown? That was not a good idea by the defensive coordinator.
Sometimes Terrell Austin just baffles me.
I don't take J.J. Watt and have him cover, I don't know, let's say T.Y. Hilton. You don't do that.
Yeah, I mean,
I can only let one exception go, and if he's covering Gronk, but that's because to me they're of similar body types, and to stop a freak of nature, you must send a freak of nature right back at him.
exactly. I mean, Zettel is a developing star in the making, but he's not there yet.
I say he's getting there.
He's getting there.
He needs
He's
to
not
get there though,
yet.
especially if Ziggy's gone.
Ezekiel Ansah is a star caliber player. He is just not able to get on the field consistently enough for my liking. One other fact about this game, it was refereed by my buddy, my pal, and my light just flickered, and it's flickering again. The my good old buddy, old pal, Peter Morelli. Peter Morelli was the referee for this game.
Oh, yeah, I feel
man.
bad for you though, because you know what happened in Houston? We got my favorite referee, Ed Hockley, my boy Ed Hockley. I was like, yay! We won't have a botched call to go against us this time. But Bill, it seems as one person gets it good, another one must suffer in its place.
Right.
How bad
Overall,
did he
though,
do? How bad?
he was actually pretty fair to both teams, so I give him a passing grade. See, I'm getting over the overtime loss from 3 years ago, or not the overtime loss, the playoff loss from 3 years ago.
Oh
So
man.
Peter Morelli, you're not so much on my shit list anymore.
Well, let's
It's
be
more
fair. There
Brad
was no
Allen.
a Calvin Johnson situation where it's like, oh, is that a catch? No, it's not. Oh,
Right.
also, speaking of catches, Kenny Galladay got another good deep throw. Stafford, here's a fun little stat I'll read to you. Kenny Galladay got one of these, but while I'm looking for that, I'll mention Kenny Galladay got a good throw. But more importantly, Marvin Jones has settled into this team, and I really am glad for that. Especially if you whether you own him for fantasy or not, he is looking good. He is such a good deep ball threat, and well, He also has some good yards after the catch. Golden Tate, I didn't see much of him everywhere. In fact, here's a fun thing, Bill. Eric Ebron caught a ball. He caught a ball on the final drive to get that game-winning field goal. When they needed it, he finally caught it. Maybe he can stay if he keeps this shit up. I don't know. I'm just thinking, if you're targeted Ebron, catch the ball. Just keep catching the ball, and there's hope for you in this city yet. But I don't know. I just say he needs to keep doing that. Anyway, here it is. I got you your stats, Bill. Oh, huh. I found out another thing, but anyway. So, Matthew Stafford completed multiple deep balls just once in the first 5 games of this season. Was 7 of 22 through 6 games overall. Then he had a bye. In the 4 games since, he's hit on 11 of 21 deep balls for 367 yards. 3 scored touchdowns. That's hot. That was from Pro Football Focus, although from at least the stats. But anyway, so yeah, Stafford's getting better with those deep ball throws, but to me, that offensive line still needs to get its shit together, because there were some situations where he's I know that forced fumble. He was finally making the throw, but his I think it was actually Taylor Decker, who still hasn't settled in, got around Decker and got that strip sack.
Yep.
So it's like the offensive line needs to settle in, because guess who's coming this week, Bill?
Yep, that defense is a legit threat, and overall, I think it's going to be an interesting game. Really, they haven't been really doing much, chipping with the tight ends. I feel like that should be a part of the game plan. Use Ebron or Fells and make sure you get some chips on some of those defensive players. Just sort of make sure they're getting hit from a few sides constantly. Make sure they don't know what's coming at them.
Yeah. Or better yet, get them to go catch the ball, because since it seems teams are ignoring them, there should be plenty more opportunities to get the ball then.
Exactly. Overall, the game was a little. It was a good game. It was a division game. I sort of expect this from Chicago to play us tough and then lose.
My favorite play, though, there was this one. It was the touchdown to Amir Abdullah, the second touchdown Stafford threw. It was to me, it looked like they were gonna send the house on Stafford. You had, I think, 4 people lined up again at the line of scrimmage. You had 3 more people next to him, 3 or 4 more people like behind them, and then the rest were on the right for coverage. Amir Abdullah goes through all that once the play is snapped, and those guys in the back all stayed to coverage. It was not a real blitz. He goes past, slips through all of them, and makes a move for the right because the receivers went left to get their attention, and he's all alone in the end zone. It was a beautiful bamboozle play. I like seeing teams get stumped like that. It was enjoyable for me, because if I were a quarterback, I would be full on expecting a blitz and maybe change the play, but Stafford saw right through it. And that's why he's the most paid quarterback, and not me.
He's definitely developing into a high completion percentage guy who doesn't throw many picks, which is a definite issue for the rest of the league going forward.
Now, Bill, let's move on to let's go to Mexico City, Bill, because we got the Mexico game. The Patriots and the Raiders, and guess what? No laser light to get in the way of quarterbacks today, because the Raiders didn't stand a chance in this game. Then let me tell you, this game could have looked a little more close. The Raiders blew a few opportunities to get some points up, but the Patriots, Bill, the defense was once a liability. Now it looks good.
Yeah.
I like how stingy they are. I like how they go after the ball and take it away from them. And, well, let's just say this team is finally looking like, okay, we may have an AFC favorite that's pretty clear now. One guy I saw, I made this remark to another person on Twitter, and they said, "But the Steelers. What about the Steelers? Don't count out the Steelers." Which I could say, yeah. I mean, they dominated on Sunday night or Thursday night football, but what if that was in Tennessee? I don't know if they'd have the same score.
Right. I mean, here's that. Like I said, Roethlisberger at home plays really well. On the road, he's terrible, and that's been the case the last 3 years. He played horribly in Game 1 this year against the Cleveland Browns, who are now 0-10. He played down to that
And he
level.
played, and he lost to, and nearly lost to the Colts. Let's not
Yeah,
forget about
nearly
that.
lost to the Colts, nearly lost to the Cleveland Browns. Both those games were on the road. So, I mean, you know, we can say, the Steelers are a legit threat, and sure, they can be a legit threat if Ben Roethlisberger is not at quarterback. If they have to go into Foxborough, they are in some major trouble with Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, the only road game they seem to be comfortable playing is in Kansas City, but spoiler alert, I don't think the playoffs are going to there anytime soon.
No.
But anyway, um, with that out of the way, the Patriots looking like the clear favorites. I mean,
Oh
the
yeah.
confrontation between the two is really going to decide the division, but right now, I feel like New England is just running away with everything. They're always running away with the playoffs. And remember when people said, "Oh, look, the Bills have a chance to take it from New England." Oh, silly. You forgot that these are the Patriots with Tom Brady, the GOAT. And it was so fun seeing him that yesterday. It was fun seeing him rip apart a defense that he is perfectly fine with going up against every week if he could,
Right. I
because
mean,
he got 11 completions in a row to start the game too. It was really good.
yeah, he came out on fire. He played with a chip on his shoulder, and that whole team played with a chip on his shoulder. And the thing is that defense. They finally figured out what they do well and what they don't do well. What they don't do well is run blocking. It's a real run stopping. I mean, they really don't do that well, but they also limit the damage to either a field goal or, like on one of the goal line stands, ripping the football out of a running back's hand, at the 2 yard line
I think that was
and
Seth
punching it out.
Roberts. Yeah,
Yeah,
Patrick Chung
it
took the
was.
ball away, and it's good to see him back because he was out of the game for a drive, but then he came back. But
Yep.
the
I mean,
players are settling in. They're really bending but not breaking at all. It's what the Patriot way has been: bend but don't break. But
yep.
I will say, I'm still not sure about the pass rush. I think it's just their secondary is playing as good as they were expected to. Like they're finally settling in, but that pass rush still needs to step up a little more. I think it can with time, but Bill, my favorite play of the game though had to have been the 62-yarder by Gostowski. Put that man in the Hall of Fame. Actually, let me go back to the Lions game too. Put Matt Prater in the Hall of Fame too. Those two had to get really good field goals in really tough environments.
Yep.
With Prater in windy Chicago, which you could make that excuses, which is why the kicker for the Bears did bad. But you play in Chicago, man. I expect you to play to do that. You know what I mean? The
Right.
Packers kicker isn't the best kicker right now, but or in the league, but he kicks well because he's used to the Packers environment, and well, he plays 8 games there. If he couldn't, then he wouldn't be part of the team now, would he? But
Correct.
Matt Prater going against the wind, and then Gostowski, over 7,000 feet in the air in Mexico City, and then of course getting a 62-yard field goal in that environment was amazing.
Right. I mean, it was a great field goal. I saw it live. It was quite quite a field goal. I always enjoy when a kicker can showcase their talent, and that is Goskowski has always had a big leg. It doesn't hurt that it was high up in elevation, but you know what? I think he can still kick a 62-yard field goal even if it was in Oakland, which is actually technically below sea level.
Oh yeah, it's like what,
But
27 feet below?
yeah, it was like 27 feet below sea level or something like that. But
You know, Bill, there's
yeah,
so little to talk about with this game. I want to mention a little story. So, you know how the Patriots acquired good old Marty B
right.
from the Packers? So, people, uh, let's just say Patriots haters, were saying that how did they get him like that, considering they had him the year before? It's suspicious. So people started asking, could the NFL look into it? Really, already with the hashtag Martygate. And guess what? They said, no, there's no problem here. You guys are overreacting. There is no Martygate. The Patriots didn't do anything suspicious. I mean, because remember, the Patriots was the perfect place for him to go. And, well, considering Dwayne Allen hasn't been up to snuff, Gronk is Gronk. But, you know, having a second player, like a second tight end that's just as dangerous as him, is always welcome. In fact, I'm still surprised and disappointed that Detroit didn't get him, because to be honest, if Detroit had him, well, Bill, that hope of getting tight ends more involved would actually be a thing.
Yeah, I overall overall I don't understand this need for people to be so crazy against the Patriots. I mean, they've they've been good for 15 years. If you really want to be if you really want to join a, a, disliking a team, how about disliking the Green Bay Packers, who have had two Hall of Fame quarterbacks back to back, and have made the playoffs for 25 years.
Got two
You know
Super
that,
Bowls. But I get it. The
yeah.
Patriots have won 5 with just Tom Brady, so that means better. But hey, Joe Montana
But
had 4, and I don't see anyone giving him
I
crap.
mean, there's a reason why the Red Wings are hated in hockey. I know this because I lived through a 25-year playoff streak. They're hated because they're successful for a very long time. So let's get on the bandwagon. You know, the Patriots are one thing, but the Packers have been there for a lot longer, and they've had two Hall of
Spurs don't
Fame
get
quarterbacks back
hatred
to
though,
back.
surprisingly. Even though they won
That's
5, I think it's because the Spurs are hard to hate. It's hard to
yeah,
hate
they're hard to
Tim
hate.
Duncan or Kawhi Leonard.
Oh yeah.
But it is
You
easy to
know,
hate Steph Curry because, him, or especially Draymond Green, because Draymond Green especially is a shit talker.
or or LeBron or Aaron Rodgers.
I don't
Aaron
like
Rodgers,
LeBron, but
where
I respect him. Like I don't like him seeing him on the court because he's always my an arch rival, an arch nemesis. But I still respect him as a man because he's a
right.
good man.
I respect all these players, but Aaron Rodgers comes off as a arrogant douchebag
Oh, I
a
know, I
lot of the
agree. I've
time.
said that before. But
Uh,
either way, I mean, the only team I can see that has more justification is the Yankees. And the sad thing is, Bill, I think the Yankees are going to be a Final Four team in the next year's baseball season. Not fun for me. But hey, they're going to go. They may go up against the Astros again. So go Houston. Anyway,
but
Bill, the
yeah,
last thing to mention before we move on to how about them Cowboys? If you want to know how good and how devastating this offense is, they have completed, I think, over 30. They made 30 completions to 5 different receiver type players. This is counting the tight ends too, by the way. You have Amendola, you have Hogan, you have Gronkowski, you have James White. It is amazing how many players they have that can beat you. Oh, and Brandon Cooks, who had a great game too, by the way.
oh yeah,
I'm just thinking they are so set. They are stacked in these positions to win now that I will honestly be surprised if a team other than them or Pittsburgh goes to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. That will be my bigger twist of the year.
Yeah.
Because right now the AFC, Bill. Can we just bury the entire AFC besides those two? I know some will say, "Oh, but the
I agree.
Jaguars." Let me tell you something about the Jags, Bill. The Jags
Blake
won that
Bortles.
game, but Blake Bortles still is not playing at an optimal rate.
Right.
I think he's
I would
starting
agree.
to get worse and worse, and the minute you play a better team, then it really will cost you, considering you were playing the Chargers, who love to choke games away, and then you play the Browns. If you lost to the Browns, like I said, you don't deserve anything. In fact, you don't even deserve any more wins this year. But, I mean, you still got to play Tennessee at the end of the year. That's going to... I want to hope it's Sunday Night Football. I swear to God, if they somehow force Dallas, Philly, I will boycott SNF forever. Because the Cowboys, which, speaking of, we may as well move on to the Cowboys, Bill, because I started to call it a curse. I think just like the Lions a couple weeks ago, the Cowboys were allergic to the end zone, and you could say, oh, they kept it close, 9-7 at halftime. That was cute. A close game, but no. The Eagles, I mean, they almost mixed up for another type of bird there, but the Eagles woke up and just shat on everything the Cowboys held dear. Dak Prescott was being ragdolled. They couldn't run the ball, and on defense, Carson Wentz was eviscerating them. This whole team was eviscerated. There is no more Cowboys. I think they just got embarrassed so hard. I wouldn't want to come out and see them on Thursday night against the Chargers.
I mean, the Eagles came out pretty hot to start the game as well. They started, Carson Wentz started 5 of 5, and then there was that lull in the second quarter. It sort of was like, you know what? The Cowboys might be able to hang in this game. And then the second half happened, and that defense felt the loss of, Sean Lee and a bunch of other players. They felt it, and they started getting carved up like turkeys. I
Oh,
mean, they were.
that reminds me. The beginning of the game perfectly encapsulated the Cowboys. There's the phrase again. Opening drive, not even the start of the drive. The opening kickoff. Get a 62-yard punt return. Great field position. What do they do with it? Settle for a field goal. They go 3 and out and have to settle for a field goal.
Yep.
What? I'm not surprised. Like I said, I see this shit all the time with Dallas. What's
And
that, guys? You telling me the Cowboys have a bunch of primetime games because they're so good? Oh no! Even without Zeke, I've been saying they're gonna go miss the playoffs. I was gonna say 8-8, then I said, okay, you know what, Cowboys fans, I'll give you a little more respect. They'll go 9-7 and barely miss it by
the
losing their
Eagles
final
were
game to
just,
Philly.
even with Ezekiel Elliott on the field, that Eagles offense is by far and away the best offense in the NFC.
Really,
That
I have the
is
Saints personally, but we'll have that debate another time.
I feel like the Eagles are very much. I think Carson Wentz is a young Drew Brees. That's really what I think is. He's just a bigger, stronger Drew Brees, and that's a scary thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, overall, the Dallas Cowboys defense can hang their hat on the fact that they kept the score close for a half until Jay Ajayi started going crazy in the game as well. I mean, it wasn't just Wentz. Ajayi was going crazy. Freaking LeGarrette Blount was going nuts. It was everyone on that offense just tearing the Cowboys apart.
Oh yeah, it was just oi, it was very bad to see that game. I stopped watching after they started putting points. It was embarrassing. Dak has had a good season, you could say. He has done what he can, but not only have we said that the offensive line is overrated, now it's actually it's a liability now. Without their left tackle Tyron Smith, They are so vulnerable because you can just stack the box, have Fletcher Cox lean towards the left or towards his left, and there you go. The pocket collapses quickly. Dak is either going to be forced to run or take a sack. They were beaten all around. Aside from that opening drive where they got that punt return, they really didn't have much else for highlights.
I mean, and the thing about Dallas is that they're built to run the football, and they weren't able to run the football. And so Dak Prescott, all of his play action passes were sniffed out. All of his bootlegs and all that stuff, that doesn't work. So that entire part of the offense is dead.
I think we can also safely say the NFC East is still overrated. Look at this, Bill. You had SNF for Cowboys Eagles. Then you have Thursday night with Giants Washington. That one's looking to be bad. I think it's going to be horrible. But then you had this one. It's like, oh, but like Al and Chris are like, we love the NFC East. It's always a great division. Oh, you just want the ratings. It's not a good division. It never has been, and they're still keeping Packers Steelers for next week's Sunday Night Football teams. I've heard nothing of a change, and I think it's too late to make the change. You could have. Why didn't they take that out, and put Saints Rams? That would be much better.
Right. I would agree. I mean, overall, the issue is they want the Thanksgiving night in the New York market. I mean, you got to appeal to the East Coast market. In the East Coast market, that's 20 million households for Thanksgiving night in the New York metropolitan area. So,
Yep.
I mean,
And as for Sunday with Packers Steelers, I call foul. Sure, the Steelers are the good team, but the Packers are a shell. They're a husk of what they were without Aaron Rodgers. There is no
agreed.
hope for this team. There is nothing. You should just embrace the tank and get a good draft pick, and bam, you'll be back where you started in no time.
Agreed.
But the
Agreed.
Packers, I think they're not going to tank. I have them going 8-8, which that doesn't equate to a good draft pick. But anyway, speaking of, I know I keep saying, I've said it on Twitter many times, especially with Dallas. It's like, just tank from here on. Just throw your games. Why do I say that? Fire Jason Garrett, Scott Linehan, Kyle Shanahan. They are not. They're not making the cut anymore. I'll give Shanahan credit. You did okay with that defense, the best you can, but the talent wasn't there. Jerry Jones making a fuss about Roger Goodell, and apparently Goodell wants a $50 million per year contract, which bullshit, man. You don't even deserve $10 million because you're that bad at your job. And he wants a private jet too. He wants a guaranteed private jet for his own personal use. Okay, man.
Currently, he's at $30 million a year. So.
Yep, and I don't even think he deserves that. He doesn't even deserve half of that, or a third of that, as my point said earlier. But so Jerry Jones is trying to fight him back, but considering how bad your team did today, your voice has less power behind it. Either way, that'll be a story to watch. But for now, Cowboys fans, I see hardly any of them on the timeline now. I'm gonna guess they went over to watch the LA Rams instead. Like what most bandwagons do. But don't worry, Cowboys fans, you'll show up when you start winning again, because you'll have that 1 year where you go big, and then after that, guess what, Bill? Remember, Bill, every other game from here on is a primetime game, save for Week 17. But if they change that to Dallas at Philly for a stupid reason, when games like the Titans and the Jaguars is clearly going to be that inevitable confrontation that will settle the division, they're not going to put that one.
Don't worry, it'll be Detroit, Green Bay, and then Aaron Rodgers will appear from the locker room again. So that way he can do the exact same thing he did 3 years ago.
Oh God, I would hate that. Every Lions fan would hate that. Either way, Cowboys, embrace the tank. Just go bad. Maybe go like 6-10 this year. You'll get a solid enough draft pick. Go get a shiny new cornerback or an outside linebacker. I'll be happy with either one. Your corners are too young. Some of the rookie corners, I like what I see. but they still need support, but especially a linebacker just to replace Sean Lee, because Sean Lee is such an injury risk. But hey, you could have drafted T.J. Watt, but you're like, nah, we need another pass rusher because DeMarcus Lawrence apparently wasn't good enough for us, even though he's playing pretty good. Either way, Cowboys, we can finally. I mean, I've said they were out since the minute they lost to Green Bay, but okay, guys. They're done. The whole NFC East is officially done, save for the Eagles. If Washington won this week and Dallas somehow won, they might have still been alive for a playoff card race. Because remember, Bill, you could go 10-6, and you still might miss the playoffs because it is that hard in the NFC. The NFC is so stacked right now; it's not even funny.
Right. It reminds me of the AFC of the mid 2000s.
That was a fun time. Either way, so let's just talk about some other games that happened this past week, Bill. So the Vikings they just overpowered the Rams at the end of the game, Bill. But the Rams couldn't do the Lions a solid and steal that one. Now you have to not only beat them, but hope the Vikings lose another game somewhere to another NFC team. Because, well, like I said, Bill, if the Lions and Vikings win out, assuming the Lions win this Thursday, the Vikings still win the division, just by having that extra win, and the Lions being robbed of another win against the Falcons.
Yeah. I mean, think if the Lions win out and the Vikings win out minus the Detroit game, that loss at Atlanta that we were cost would mean the difference between a 2 seed or a 1 seed or playing in the first round playoff game. Let's just think about that. My team would get fucking screwed again and play an extra playoff game like normal when we should be if that situation were to occur. Let's hope it doesn't and the Vikings play down, because Stephon Diggs had a game, and really Adam Thielen was held in check by the Rams defense. It was a busted coverage that got him a 60-yard touchdown against them. So, I mean, overall, the Rams played a really good game against the Vikings in Minnesota. So the Rams are a legit threat. They just didn't have enough.
Yeah, but Bill, I want to talk about a Super Bowl contender in the Saints. I know they were down, but they came back in spectacular fashion to get a game-winning field goal in overtime, and that Drew Brees to what's his name, the rookie running back.
Oh, Alvin Kamara.
Yep, Alvin Kamara got that juggling catch and ran to the end zone. Washington didn't even try to catch him, try to tackle him. They forgot how to tackle, and that just sparked everything. That ignited the comeback. And well, I am on board the Saints bandwagon for a Super Bowl run, because I think they have it in them. They just have to beat good old Philly. To me, Bill, I'm just waiting for the postseason for Philly. I don't trust them in the playoffs.
I would say both Philadelphia and New Orleans offenses are evenly matched. And if that situation were to arise, I think the difference would be the defense, and I think Philadelphia has a better defense than New Orleans.
As for me, I think I take Drew Brees more as a better quarterback. I trust him in the playoffs because he's been through the song and dance before. Also, if you ask me, I trust the Saints wide receivers a bit more. I think they are better at catching the ball. Even the running backs catching the ball are a little better than the Eagles. And, well, I think their defense is no slouch. The mistakes they made were not physical mistakes. They were more mental mistakes, especially considering Marshawn Lattimore is a rookie. I give him a bit of a pass because he was a rookie. Now, if he were like a 5-year veteran, I'd start to actually be a little worried. But, yeah, I don't know. I feel like he's playing really good and is an underrated Defensive Player of the Year nominee, if you ask me. He hasn't made those game-winning or game-sealing interceptions or anything like that, but he has played effectively. He has made quarterbacks look away to the other guys instead, and I think that's impressive in of itself.
Right.
Either
I
way,
agree.
Bill, the last game. Oh boy, Bill. So how about that Brock Osweiler led Broncos?
He brought a little bit of the Cleveland Browns with him to poison that locker room. And look at what the Broncos are now, 3-7. Anything the Cleveland Browns touch, they poison another locker room.
Wait, didn't they start 3-0 and now they're on a 7-game losing streak?
Yup.
Oh god, yikes, yikes. That's embarrassing.
Ever since Trevor Simeon was hurt, they haven't been the same. Their defense has been getting absolutely destroyed. Brock Osweiler has been playing like garbage. Let's just be brutally honest. And that offense can't do anything.
Okay, no, they started 3-1. Week 3 they lost the Bills. And
Oh
now
yeah.
it's just oh god, they are not looking good at all. I would oh god, what do you even do? Because you still haven't even given Paxton Lynch a try. I'm thinking, do you try and go for another quarterback? You haven't really given Paxton Lynch a try, but they keep saying, "Oh, he's not ready. Oh, he's not ready." You guys traded up for a draft pick to get him.
Right. I mean, what's worse? At least if he throws 4 interceptions, he still had a better day than Nate Peterman
Oh
had.
god, that's the one, Bill. That game. So the Bills were so confident saying, "Oh, Tyrod Taylor isn't the long-term answer." Our new beat writers are saying, "Oh, he's not the long-term answer." Okay, so what? This rookie Peterman is gonna light up the field. Nope. First play, what does he do, Bill?
Interception.
Pick six.
And that was the theme of that Buffalo Bills Los Angeles Chargers game. Intercept 5 of the first 19. What was 5 of the first 19 passes of Peterman were picks? It was some crazy number. Or was it 5
He has more
interceptions in 19
interceptions
games?
than Tyrod Taylor has in his whole season. And they were preaching about how he's the guy, he's going to turn this season around. You know what? People were saying Sean McDermott had a chance of being coach of the year. Okay, I'm taking that away. And if you still think that, I'm going to have to take you into the doctor and check if you have a concussion because that logic doesn't add up. The math doesn't add up. Sean McDermott has just given away his rights to be nominated for Coach of the Year. Sean McVay
Here's
bound because, my God, that was the most boneheaded decision you made. Not even all game, that was all week.
I mean, let's just be brutally honest. I feel bad for Peterman. I really
Oh,
do.
you want to know a
But
sad, sad thing,
here's
Bill? There is something
what?
worse than this. So, basically, turns out his first game back when he was with Tennessee, his first college game and his first NFL game were very similar. Except, mind you, he only threw 2 interceptions. They got destroyed by the Florida Gators that year.
Right.
And then, of course, come to today, 54-24 blowout by the Chargers. The Chargers annihilated them. Peterman with 5 interceptions, as you mentioned. He didn't get sacked, too, but his QBR was the lowest I've ever seen. In fact, I'm seeing it right now, and I have all kinds of emotions. Point 3 QBR. That is the lowest I've ever seen.
Well, and
How?
here's another stat. He played 30 game minutes. Okay, 30 game minutes. He wasn't on the field all 30, but if you just take the 30 game minutes and you divide his 5 interceptions in there, he was throwing an interception like every 6 minutes. So,
The Chargers offense didn't even need to do much. That
exactly. I mean, Legitimately, they could have took a nap and won that game.
That was just ill, disgusting, trashy.
I mean, theoretically, they could have just knelt the rest of the game if they really wanted to.
Oh god, that was just Bills fans, I feel bad for you. Your coach went from promising to clown car. It's like you went
You
from having a Bill Belichick to now guess what? You actually had Rex Ryan in disguise. Oh dear God! Woe is the Bills Mafia. They can't catch a break. I'm not saying they're Browns or Lions level of pain franchise, but come on. They couldn't even win one Super Bowl when they went to 4 in a row, and then they have this clown car that's been haunting them ever since. Any
they
hope
haven't
they
made the
have, but to be
playoffs
fair,
since
guys, you
19.
can go in at 8-8 for the playoffs. Maybe it's possible.
Right. They haven't made the playoffs since 1999.
Well, now's a good time because funny thing is, Bill, with this win, the Chargers are back in the hunt. And look at their schedule. Let's take a look at their next 3 games. At Dallas, and then home for 2 straight games, back to back with Browns and Washington. Then you go to Kansas City. Then you go to the Jets, and then to end the season, you host the Raiders. All those games are very much winnable. In fact, I was going to say maybe the Chiefs, maybe not the Chiefs, but that too can be winnable considering how bad the Chiefs are playing right now.
Right.
So they could make a run. They could make a run for it and just bull rush their way into the playoffs. It's not that hard. They just need to go 9-7, and that's your ticket.
Agreed. Agreed.
There's a lot of easy winnable games, but it starts with Thanksgiving. But Bill, on that note, are
Oh
you
man.
ready for the Picks Thanksgiving edition?
Oh man. The Turkey Day Classics begin at the traditional time of 12:30 Eastern with the Minnesota Vikings at the Detroit Lions.
Oh, Bill, when I pass this to you, you gotta give me describe what happens in the day, or each section of the day as we were watching these games like last year.
This
But
this is where the cooking of the turkeys begins. This is where you sit down and watch a parade and then watch the first game of the day. The parade in Detroit ends right as the game begins, and the Lions recently have played a lot of really tough teams on Thanksgiving, really tough, and they've won those games.
and this is the
And
second time in a row they got Minnesota.
they got Minnesota, and this year they're a legit contender, and Detroit's a legit contender. This is the best matchup of the day. I got the Lions winning. It's going to be a hard-fought 13-10 game, defensive struggle.
I'm gonna go 27-20, a little more offensive. I'm gonna go with the Lions because I feel they have to win this. They both teams need to win. The Vikings win this, the division's all but wrapped up. But if the
Yep,
Lions win it, they're not guaranteed anything. They need to win out. Same thing
yep,
with the Lions. But this is a game where no one can make a mistake, and I think the Vikings are going to make a mistake.
yep, I agree. Then, during your meal for Thanksgiving, the next game begins. The Los Angeles Chargers at the Dallas
I'm
Cowboys.
going to go with an upset of Thanksgiving. I'm going to go with the Chargers. The run starts now for a playoff spot, and, well, the Cowboys are done. And that left tackle position still doesn't look like it's getting better anytime soon. I expect Joey Bosa to go maul over whoever's at left tackle and just eat up Dak Prescott like he's eating up a turkey.
I agree. I got the Chargers winning. This could be a sneaky playoff team, Los Angeles Chargers. Next up, the dessert special where you're just sitting around and talking to family. It is the New York Giants at the Washington football team.
Is it bad that I have a feeling there's a bit of a, how do I put it? A bit of a historical reference in this, in the Washington football team being on a Thanksgiving game. It doesn't feel right again. Just like I said last year, this is a bit worrisome. But I'm gonna go with Washington, whose season is all but sealed. But guess what? The Giants are embracing the tank still. They must embrace the tank in an effort for Scam for Sam or whatever quarterback shows up.
I got Washington as well. The Giants are bad. Speaking of bad teams, the Sunday games, the Buffalo Bills at the Kansas City Chiefs.
You know, this game's as harder to pick than you think. The Chiefs absolutely cannot fuck this one up. Otherwise, you're letting the Chargers back in the door for your playoff spot. And well, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with the Buffalo, not Buffalo. I'm gonna go with the Kansas City Chiefs. I just can't see them fucking this up. And Buffalo, if you stick with Nathan Peterman, you don't deserve anything. Put Tyrod Taylor and try and save your season because you are alive for this playoff hunt.
Yep, they're alive, but not for much longer because I got the Chiefs beating them as well. I think the Chiefs are going to wake up on offense in this game.
Oh, hope so.
Next up, the Tennessee Titans at the Indianapolis Colts.
Okay, Colts coming off a bye, but the Titans should rebound after getting massacred by the Steelers because they had a bit of a mini bye themselves. Mariota needs to settle in because the Jaguars are coming. They're coming, and you need to keep up with them and try to beat them on that inevitable final game showdown.
I agree. I got Tennessee as well. Legit, this could be a close game. I can see it being close. Next up, the Cleveland Browns at the Cincinnati Bengals.
I'm gonna go with Cincinnati, but they don't. These two don't deserve anything.
Oh man, I got Cincinnati. I'm not enthusiastic about it. I just want to see an 0-16 team again, and and one that's not my team. So I got Cincinnati. Next up, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Atlanta Falcons.
Oh boy, Atlanta's gonna get their shit together. I don't know. The game hasn't started, by the way, for the Seahawks and Falcons game, so we don't know how they turned out. But I expect the Falcons to triumphantly crush the invading Buccaneers.
I got the Falcons as well. Though if, let's say, something crazy happens, like Matt Ryan gets hurt or something, I reserve the right to switch. But I got the Falcons in this game. All right. Next up, the Miami Dolphins at the New England Patriots.
Actually, I know how Matt Ryan would get hurt in that game. Mike Evans is gonna blindside hit him out of nowhere like an asshole.
Oh,
So, yeah, that might be in the cards. Anyway, to this game, the Patriots are gonna crush the Dolphins. Like the Dolphins are in Japanese waters right now. They are dead fish. The dirty fins, the dirty fish. I'm still working on that one. Are gonna get absolutely slaughtered. New England is gonna have dolphin for dinner.
The Dirty Dolphins are going to lose to the New England Patriots, and they're going to get blown out. It's going to be a slaughter.
I hope so.
Speaking of slaughters, the Chicago Bears at the Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh God, they're in for a spanking. I'll give you this much: the Bears the Bears offensive line is gonna do their best to keep Philly off of Mitch Trubisky's back, but ultimately, they can't say the same on the other side of the ball. The Bears just will not be able to keep up. They'll put points, I think, but just field goals. But every time the Bears score, the Eagles are just gonna score even more.
Here comes a 10-1 Eagles team. I've got the Eagles rushing the Bears. Next up, the Carolina Panthers at the New York Jets.
Both these teams coming off a bye. I'm gonna go with Carolina, but I will not be surprised if they drop this one. It's just in their blood.
I'm fairly sure this is going to be a very close game. I've got the Panthers, but not by much. But not by much. Next up, the Seattle Seahawks at the San Francisco 49ers.
I'll go with Seattle, but to be honest, I may not be surprised if the 49ers pull this one out their ass, considering how close that last game was.
I agree. I got Seattle as well. I think it's going to be a close game. The 49ers defense is just horrifically bad, though. Next up, the game of the week, the New Orleans Saints at the LA Rams.
I've got an upset of the week here too for Sunday. I'm going with the Saints. I'm after seeing the Rams get stifled like that. I'm just thinking the Saints offense has it made. It looks like they can pick apart the Rams defense with enough time. I think the game will be a little close though, but I expect the Saints to win by 2 scores.
I'm going Rams in this game. I feel like the Rams got a wake-up call. They don't want to allow any team back into their division. This is a perfect game to make a statement.
Yeah, just a
This,
reminder,
I
they
think...
didn't want this to be the SNF game.
Nope, they have something better. Next up, the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Arizona Cardinals.
I'm going to go with the Jags, but to be honest, again, I feel like Blake Bortles is due for an absolute meltdown. This one could be it. It's getting closer and closer. It's the ticking time bomb, Bill.
I've got Jacksonville as well. I think they're just shut the door on the Cardinals offense.
Oh, also, one
Next
thing
up,
to note, this is the Calais Campbell revenge game, which, why he left them, I still don't know, but it's working right now.
next up, the Denver Broncos at the Oakland Raiders.
I'm going Oakland. Oakland's going to get revenge. This one's would have been close if you had good old Trevor Siemian, but you're still stuck with the Brock Osweiler experience.
I got Oakland as well. I think 2 touchdowns for Amari and Michael Crabtree.
Oh, that'd be a nice one to see right there.
Next up, the Sunday night football game, what beat out New Orleans and LA, the Green Bay Packers without Aaron at Pittsburgh with an aging Ben Roethlisberger.
This would have been the last chance that these two could have played against each other, and then the football gods robbed us of this matchup. This is the one time I'm actually sad we don't have Aaron Rodgers. I really wanted to see if Big Ben could get revenge against him. But nope. I'm going to go with Pittsburgh because no Aaron Rodgers, there's no hope for this team.
I got Pittsburgh as well. No Aaron Rodgers, no point. Next up, the Monday night game, the Houston Texans at the Baltimore Ravens.
Oh, Bill, I'm not sure with this one. I'm still thinking it's a bit of a toss-up. Who do you got?
I've got Baltimore, but every time I pick them, they lose, so...
I'm going to go with Baltimore as well, just because they're at home. If this was the other way around, I would have gone with Houston barely winning, but I could be wrong because Baltimore seems to love to play inconsistent. And they like to go against our picks, too.
Right.
Alright, Bill, the Thursday game, in case we're not around.
Just in case, it is the Washington football team at the Dallas Cowboys.
I'm going to go with Dallas. I reserve my right to change my pick, but I feel more confident about Dallas going into that week rather than Washington, especially with no Chris Thompson. They both don't have running games anymore.
This game's difficult to pick. I'm going Washington, but again, I'm going to reserve the right just because God knows what's going to happen with Dallas.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, that'll do it for this week. Do you have anything else you want to add since we have Thanksgiving coming real soon, Bill?
No, everyone have a very safe, fun Thanksgiving, and it's going to be an enjoyable set of games.
Yep, same here. Hope you all have a safe Thanksgiving and safe Black Friday too. Don't want anyone to get
Yeah.
hurt over that stuff. Not worth it. And yeah, next week we have Pro Bowl stuff to talk about, so be excited for that.